Hello, everyone. My name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about Light in August by William Faulkner. Very interesting work here. Lots of things are happening, lots of characters. So the work begins with Lena. So Lena is in Alabama. She's pregnant. And she thinks that she's pregnant for this man by the name of Lucas Birch. And Lucas leaves. He's like, I want to go get a job in Jefferson, Mississippi. But dude just disappears. He's gone. And this pregnant lady, hits the road and goes after him in Jefferson, Mississippi. And when she gets there, I'm telling you, it's a mess. There's so many things happening when she gets there. She gets to the town, and there's a house on fire. She meets this guy by the name of Byron, and Byron is infatuated with her. Byron wants to marry her later, we learn. It's just like, for him, it's like love at first sight. And in the burning house, Byron's working at the mill. There's two other guys, Joe Christmas and Joe Brown. Joe Brown is actually Lucas. He used a fake name. The name Lucas is fake. Lucas's real name is Joe Brown. And there's another Joe by the name of Joe Christmas. This is the story that we get from Byron. The house that's on fire belongs to a woman by the name of Joanna. And Joanna and Joe Christmas, they have a relationship going on. Joe Christmas, he's a mixed, black and white person. Not really accepted in the time period, the setting that this was written in. And he was beaten. Religion, Christianity specifically, was used heavily against him. Um, you know, um, his grandparents didn't want him. After his mother died in childbirth, his grandfather just, sent him to the orphanage. And so Joe Christmas didn't have a good life. He actually sneaks into Joanna's house for food, and she catches him, and somehow they just began a whole sexual relationship. And, well, I guess a whole relationship. And when Joanna and Joe Christmas, when the relationship wasn't working out, Joanna wanted both of them to kill themselves. Let's just end it. Since we can't be together, let's end it. But it's it's rumored that, or it's kind of believed that Joe Christmas is the one that just kills Joanna. And so this all began with, just a pregnant woman with Lena. But now there's a whole murder, there's a fire, there's racism, there's mixed race children, there's Byron in love. And the story just keeps going on and on and on. We meet a man by the name of Gail Hightower. Gail Hightower came to Jefferson in his 30s. His wife mysteriously died. She was an adulteress, sleeping around on Gail Hightower. Gail Hightower, his grandfather was a Confederate soldier. His father was more of a pacifist, preacher, pastor, that kind of stuff. So he's an interesting character. Nobody wants to talk to him in Jefferson. Gail Hightower is like an outcast. He can't be a preacher because of his wife, his past. It's just nobody wants to listen to him. So ultimately, the police believe that Joe Christmas killed Joanna, and everybody goes after him. There's several scenes. So what's really like crazy and confusing and so much within this work, Joe Christmas and Joe Brown, they both keep running. They run. They're very much like each other, and in fact, they worked each other as bootleggers. With prohibition and everything. But they're both very similar. They're always running, and they always have these problems with women. I mean, Joe Christmas, everybody thinks he's a murderer, kills Joanna. They're thinking, And Joe Brown, he gets Lena pregnant and abandons her. So they both, Joe Christmas and Joe Brown, they both have really bad habits when it comes to dealing with women. It's either you're a murderer or a player, womanizer. So these characters are really bad. Um, so the work ultimately goes on, and let's just cut to the chase here. Joe Christmas gets killed. The police, well, not specifically the police, but a captain from the National Guard goes after Joe, kills him and castrates him. Gail Hightower dies in his house, really sad and alone, contemplating his life, his family's life, and all the things that went wrong in his life. I mean, Gail Hightower didn't have a good life. His wife was an adulteress, um, or practicing adultery, cheating on him and all that kind of stuff. The town knows about it. The people know about it. Um, his father was a preacher, but Gail Hightower couldn't be a preacher because the town's not going to listen to him because of his wife and his life. And I mean, his grandfather fought for the Confederate Army and everything. So yeah, Gail Hightower, he's an interesting character. So there's so many parts to his story. So a lot of these characters within this work, they're so rich. There's so much going on within their lives. You have to really pick everyone apart. Um, you know, Lena goes after Joe Brown. She goes after Brown at the end of the work, but it's not really. She's not really enthusiastic about it. Byron wants to marry her, even though she has a child. So that's kind of cool. He could be a whole stepfather, but she's not really that interested in Byron. And it's not. It's like she's never gonna. There's this feeling that she's never really gonna marry Byron. At the same time, she doesn't really care about finding Joe Brown because Joe Brown is just. He doesn't. He's just having sex out there. He's not really a dependable person. He's not going to be a father figure. And he doesn't seem like the marrying type. Joe Christmas is dead by the end of the work. His grandparents, they're racist. They don't like him because he's biracial. They gave him up, but yet they don't want him to die. So the grandparents are like, they're fighting. I think the 20th century in America was a very dark century because I think the country was fighting for its soul. On one hand, there's white people that are not racist, that just wants to live with everybody. Everybody just lives in a society. Then there's other white people that are in between. Well, I, I mean, it's like you were raised black and white. This is white people, this is black people. And maybe you were raised in America. I mean, think about it. I mean, the 1960s weren't that long ago with Martin Luther King. I mean, it's 2024 now. The 1960s weren't that long ago. I mean, before civil rights, it was black and white. Everything was black and white. White and black people having kids, that was a big no-no. I mean, you could die. You could get lynched for that. Um, there was no mixing of bloods. There was no black and white marriage. So, like, the grandparents, they're kind of fighting. Like, Joe Christmas is their family. That is their grandson. But society tells them black and white shouldn't mix. But that's still your blood. I mean, even though mentally you're like, no, no black and white families, no black and white children, no mixed children. But in your soul, deep in your heart, that's your grandchild. That's why they don't want him to die. You see, there's certain things in life that are deep within us, that's in our subconscious. I mean, the scientific community will call it the subconscious, right? This place in your mind that's not upfront, that for lack of a better term here. But I think truly, what can understand this is okay. When you go into Christianity, for me as a Christian, in Christianity, you go into the soul, you go into the spirit, like deep down in the soul, in the spirit, this other part of yourself. You're kind of lying to yourself, like he's part black, so I don't want him. But deep down, that's your grandchild. So that's why the grandparents didn't want him to die, because they know that that's their family, that's their blood, that's my child. Because grandparents, the word parents is still in the name. So deep down, that's your child, that's your bloodline, that's your blood. So it's like they're fighting their souls, they're fighting themselves. They're like, oh man, we gave up Joe, but he's still our kid. We don't want him to die, but also we don't want to look at him. Their hearts are like torn, because they're like, we're supposed to be racist, we're supposed to be against this, but yet that's our kid. It's it's not an easy thing to take in. But yeah, Joe dies anyway. The captain from the National Guard, a captain from the National Guard, comes in and kills Joe Christmas. Brown escapes. He goes off into the wind. Lena goes after him with Byron with her. Byron wants to marry Lena. Gail Hightower dies. He can't be a preacher. So Joanna's dead. The house was on fire. So all these characters jumble in together, and the novel ends with, that's how the novel ends. The ending is Joanna's dead. Joe Christmas got blamed for it. He dies. He gets castrated. Joe Brown, he got Lena pregnant. The baby is born. Joe Brown, sneaks into the wind and disappears. Lena goes after him, with Byron helping her, and Byron trying to marry her, but it's not gonna happen. Gail Hightower, he dies thinking about life and how it went horrible for him. And the grandparents, well, I guess they have to live with the fact that they gave up their child, and their grandchild, ended up dead. Yeah. In terms of deeper meaning and analysis here, wow. Light in August. Is August dark? I don't know. That's cheesy right there, but there's just so many parts to this work here. There's so many things happening to these characters. Everybody's a wreck. Again, I think when it comes to race, when it comes to the the 20th century in America, the country doesn't know where it stands. The people are kerfuffled. People don't know exactly what they want to do, what they want to be, how they want to live. The relationship between men and women are strange. There are black and white couples that love each other, that want to be with each other, that want to start families, but they can't. Mixed race people are being hunted, are being rejected. It's a mess. It's a mess. But with this work, William Faulkner here shows the nuances of what was going on, of what happens within this work here with these characters, and what they're feeling, and what's in their hearts. And some people, like Joanna, her twist with wanting to die when her relationship with Joe Christmas didn't work out, which is quite chilling. Like, if a relationship doesn't work out, you don't just be like, okay, let's just kill ourselves. That's dark right there. So that's something to take in. That's something to take in. Joe Brown definitely has a lot of problems. His first reaction to everything is to run. I guess it's the same thing with Joe Christmas as well. But maybe that has some type of tie with slavery. Who knows? Um, maybe escape. If you can't survive, escape, run away, try to find somewhere else to exist. Um, so interesting work, very interesting work. That's all I have to say about it. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.